Students, in the previous video lecture, we have learnt about definition of electric current and also current density. As we already learnt, current density J is equal to I by A. Current density J is equal to I by A, where I is current flowing through the conductor and A is area of cross section of the given conductor. And remember, current density is a vector quantity. Current is not vector, even though it is directional, even though it is directed from high potential to low potential. It is not a vector. It should be called as scale. It should be called as tensor actually. So usually we consider current as a scalar, but strictly speaking, it is tensor quantity, which has directional but not vector. It does not obey vector laws. So current cannot be treated as vector. Remember that. Current density is a vector quantity, and unit of current density is ampere per meter square. Ampere is unit of current and area unit is meter square, ampere per meter square. So whenever you want to find out current density, like say for example, you will be finding out current density J is equal to I by A, or you can write even current I is equal to J dot A, where J is current density, A is area of cross section. Suppose if it is variable with respect to time, then you can write I is equal to integration J bar dot dA bar. Limits are from 0 to A, where A is area of cross section of that particular conductor. I is equal to integration J dot dA. Now for example, you have a conductor like this, whose area of cross section is this. Radius of this is R. I'm considering it as R. And if this is conductor where current flow this way, now see, area of cross section of this particular area of it is always perpendicular to area of cross section. Area vector is perpendicular to area of cross section. This yellow color represents that it is area of cross section and it is plane of the area. But whereas area vector, it is perpendicular to its plane, area vector A bar should be represented like this, which is perpendicular to the plane. So current density I can be written as current can be written as I is equal to integration J dot dA. So that means here J and dA, this is dot product, right? So simply I can write I is equal to J into A is area of cross section, into cos of theta, where theta is the angle between area vector and current density. Because current density we are considering it as vector quantity. J bar and A bar, these two are vectors, so you need to take angle between them. Here usually angle is 0 because both are parallel with each other. So current I can be written as J A, where this is cos 0. This is J A. You can denote it with small j or capital J. That is not big deal. Whereas sometimes you can have area of cross section like this, as this is the plane of area whose radius is R, and current density, it is in this direction, J bar. J bar is in this direction, but area of cross section, this plane is not exactly perpendicular to J bar. In such cases, what you will do? You will simply draw area vector. This is area vector A bar, and this is J bar. This is J bar. J bar and A bar both are inclined by an angle theta. In such cases, what you will do? You can find out current I is equal to J A into cos theta. Theta can be 30, 40, whatever angle it is, that you will be substituting here. So simply you can resolve this area into components like this. This area vector is in the plane. I can resolve this into components. It is A cos theta and this is A sin theta. So in order to find out current flowing through this plane, you will be taking the component of area which is in the direction of current density. Current density is horizontal, so you need to take the component of area vector which is parallel to J bar. So therefore current can be calculated as I is equal to J A cos theta. Theta is angle between J bar and as well as A bar. I hope this concept is clear. So because we are dealing with vector quantities, whenever you are multiplying J and A, you need to take dot product of those two because current is not a vector. And when you are calculating dot product, take care that angle should be always angle made by the area vector with current density. Remember, it is not plane of the area, it should be area vector. Let us solve one problem. An electron beam has an aperture 1 millimeter square. So area of that electron beam is given as 1 millimeter square, which is 1 into 10 power minus 3 whole square meter square. Remember, whenever you are going for data, so first when you are dealing with these physical quantities, change units into SI system. Whatever the units you are being given in the problem, those units you try to change it immediately into SI system, or else you will forget it when you are substituting in the formula. A total of 6 into 10 power 10 electrons. Number density is given. How much it is? 6.0 into 10 power 10 electrons. It is just number density. Go through any perpendicular cross section per second. Find current and the current density in the beam. You are supposed to find out current and current density. So in order to find out current, you have basic relation I is equal to Q divided by T, where Q is the net amount of charge flowing through. Q is equal to NE by T, where N is number density. It is 6 into 10 power 10. And whatever the charge of electron, 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 coulomb divided by time. It is being given as 1 second. So I is equal to 6636, 616, 789, 9.6 into 10 power minus 9. This 10 and 10 goes here and remained is 10 power minus 9 coulomb per second, or you can write it as ampere. That is current in the circuit. And what about current density? In order to find out current density, see here what it is mentioned. Observe carefully in the problem. Electrons go through any perpendicular cross section. So area of cross section, like for example, if area of cross section is like this, electrons are going perpendicular to area of cross section. That means electrons are traveling perpendicular to this. Suppose if area of cross section you are considering this is the area of cross section. In such case, electrons are going in this direction. Okay. So if electrons are going perpendicular to area of cross section, obviously area vector is pointed in which direction? Area vector is perpendicular to area of cross section. Area vector is perpendicular to area of cross section. So what about theta here? Theta is equal to 0. Then you can find out current density. Current density J is equal to I by A. Right? So I is current flowing through. It is 9.6 into 10 power minus 9 divided by area of cross section. It is 10 power minus 6 meter square, and this is ampere. 10 power minus 6, 10 power minus 6 goes. It is 9.6 into 10 power minus 3 ampere per meter square. That is the net amount of current density flowing through that particular area of cross section. This is equation and final value of current density. Students, now let us calculate an equation for drift velocity of electron. So first let me tell you what is mean by drift velocity, and after that we can derive equation for drift velocity. See, as we have already learnt in lecture 1, the electrons which are in a conductor, they are free to move randomly in all possible directions. They are able to move in all directions. The effect of effect produced by one electron motion is nullified by the effect of motion of another electron. As a result, net current will be equal to 0 within a conductor. That is fair enough. Now what I am doing, you can take any conductor, either it can be copper, aluminum, any conductor you can take. That conductor, you can connect it to a battery. You can connect it to battery. Now I am taking this conductor and I am connecting it to a battery. I am connecting it to a battery such that this terminal is positive and this terminal is negative. As it is positive terminal of the battery, this side it has represented with positive sign, and this is negative, so it is been represented with negative sign over here. And when I am connecting it to battery, what does battery do? Battery offer potential difference. Potential difference, it converts chemical energy into electrical energy. So how does it convert chemical energy into electrical energy? By doing some work on the electrons which are present in the conductor. So of course, I'll explain that when I am discussing about battery in detail, but for time being, you just remember that it converts chemical energy into electrical energy. Now what happens when you are connecting a battery to a conductor? Immediately after connection, battery will set up an electric field. Battery will set up an electric field throughout length of the conductor. This is very important point. Throughout length of the conductor. So here let us consider its length. Length of the conductor is this. This is total length of the conductor. Right? We have already got relation between potential and electric field. We know that V is equal to E dot L, right? So whenever there is electric field, definitely there cause some potential difference, and wherever there is electric field produced, electric field can be calculated as potential divided by its length L. Okay, so this is relation between electric field and electric potential. And as you are connecting battery to this conductor, battery will set up electric field in the direction from positive to negative. So defined electric field, it is in this direction. Electric field direction I am representing in this way. This is the direction of electric field. It is from positive terminal of the battery to negative terminal of the battery. And as there is electric field over here, what would happen to charged particle when it is placed in electric field? Charged particle will experience a force, and that force is FQ or Fe, which we have already learnt, that is E into capital E. This has been discussed in electrostatics. So electric force is equal to E into capital E. If suppose there is total amount of charge Q which is being transferred here, then in such case you will be writing it as Q into E. Therefore, all the electrons which are present within this conductor, they experience a force because of external electric field. As they are experiencing electric force, what would happen? These all electrons, previously they used to move randomly in all directions, but now all these electrons are forced to move in particular direction. So all electrons will be carried in the same direction, which is opposite to the direction of electric field. Because every charged particle, as it is negative charge, every charged particle will travel in opposite direction to that of electric field. As a result, you could see that all the electrons are forced to move in particular direction from negative terminal to positive terminal of the battery. Now what would happen, as all the electrons are traveling in the same direction, therefore I is not equal to 0, net current is not equal to 0 in the conductor, right? And that net current can be calculated as I is equal to Q net charge transferred with respect to time. I is equal to Q by T. Now when you are connecting a battery, because of the effect of electric field setting up within the conductor, all the electrons are forced to move in specific direction and they are being carried by the electric field. Electric field is forcing those all electrons to move in specific direction. Therefore, these electrons are said to be drifted. Under the presence of electric field, all the electrons are said to be drifted, and that drift is in opposite direction to that of electric field. Suppose if there is positive charge over here, positive charge will be drifted in the direction of electric field. As we are dealing with only electrons, because electrons are responsible for electron current within the conductor because they are able to move freely in a conductor. All the electrons are forcefully moving in opposite direction to that of electric field. Therefore, electric current is set up in opposite direction to that of electric field. So electric current is always taken in the direction from negative terminal to positive terminal. That is electron current. But when we are dealing with current is tensor, or you can take it as a scalar. You need to represent it with positive sign. Therefore, usually you will be taking this current I as conventional current. Remember that it is conventional current which we are defining. And this conventional current is current produced due to positive charges. But of course, positive charge does not move. The effect of negative charge, which is being produced because of its motion, the opposite to that will be positive charge motion. So we are considering that negative charges flow from negative terminal to positive terminal, producing electron current. Conventional current is by default taken in the direction opposite to electron current. So conventional current direction is represented from positive terminal to negative terminal of the battery, and this is how you will be representing current in the conductor. It is from positive terminal to negative terminal of the battery. So remember that when we are representing current in any circuit here onwards, that current is not electron current, it is conventional current. Remember that. And conventional current direction is opposite to that of electron current. Electrons get drifted from negative terminal of the battery to positive terminal of the battery. Conventional current is produced in opposite direction to that of electron current. So now all the electrons are drifted in specific direction. Now what would happen if they are being drifted in specific direction? Students, we are taking a conductor here, and in that conductor, as we are considering it as metal, there are ions. Green color dots represent ions. As we are providing electric field over here, like we are connecting it to battery, therefore electrons are drifted in the direction from negative terminal to positive terminal, setting up conventional current and as well as electron current. Now there is electric field and as well as potential difference throughout this conductor. Now when the electrons are moving, what would happen? There is some force experienced by the negative charge, right? And that force, I will write it as Q into E. And these are, like, we are dealing with positive charge only. I am not taking negative charge here. So I am not representing negative sign here. So electric field and force, they are in the same direction if you are considering this as positive charge. Now Fe is equal to QE, where E is electric field. Now what would happen? Fe, that means there is some force experienced by the charged particle which get accelerated. As a result, you can write mass into acceleration is equal to Q into E. Now from here, acceleration A is equal to QE divided by M. This is what we have already learnt in electrostatics. Now coming to this current electricity, what actually happens here is there are ions, right? Here is an ion, one electron is in motion. When the electron is being forcefully moving in this direction, what would happen? It hit the ion, and as a result it lost energy. Okay, it loses its energy. For example, initially its velocity is 10 meter per second. Usually that much greater velocity will not be there for electron, but for your understanding, macroscopically I am taking it as 10. So electron velocity will be usually very small in this conductor, and that is like when it is coming over here, it hit with the ion size is much greater than that of the electron. As a result, there is, from the collision theory we can learn that electron loses all its energy to the ion. As a result, ion absorbs that energy and even it releases that energy, and that released energy is in the form of heat. Okay, therefore when electron charge is transferred within the conductor, it will also produce heat energy, that is heating effects of electric current, which will be discussed in next coming slides of this chapter. Now 10 meter per second, when it hit the ion, it become 0 meter per second, but this is under the presence of electric field. Again this electron, whose value is 0 meter per second, gains the acceleration and it gain velocity. Again it may become 10 or 15 or 20, whatever it is, some value it gain because of the external electric field. Therefore these charged particles get accelerated, hit the ions, loses their energy. Again because of the electric field they forcefully gain acceleration, and again they loses energy. This process continues. So as a result, when we are dealing with acceleration, this is not constant, right? So velocity of charged particle is not constant. Velocity is not constant here. Its direction is changing and as well as magnitude is also changing. But when we are dealing with these charged particles, definitely they are in motion from one end to other end, they are moving. But what is happening here is we need to take average value of all the velocities of these electrons, and that average value which we are considering for acceleration is drift velocity. So that average velocity which is gained by an electron under the electric field is treated to be as drift velocity, and this drift velocity is denoted with Vd. Now we are taking this drift velocity in such a way. For example, let me take this charged particle whose value is 10 meter per second. Its velocity is 10 meter per second. Without collision, it is traveling some length x, right? We generally call it as mean free path. In this mean free path, how much time it is traveling, that time is denoted with tau. Usually it is known as relaxation time. It is known as relaxation time. So relaxation time is the time for which the charged particle which is in motion have no collision. So whatever the time it is traveling with mean free path, it is termed as relaxation time. And whatever the average velocity gained by all the electrons within the conductor area of cross section is termed as drift velocity. So simply I can now write acceleration A is equal to drift velocity by relaxation time, because this is the average for all the electrons. It will be same Vd value, and for all the electrons it will be same tau. So I am taking it as Vd by tau as A. I'll substitute that here. Vd divided by tau is equal to Q capital E divided by M. From here we can write drift velocity is equal to Q capital E into tau divided by M. This is one important equation which is used to find out drift velocity of the electron. That is Vd. One expression we have got for drift velocity. Right. Now coming to the same figure here, let us now take, there is some charge like throughout this area of cross section. There is some charge flowing through for unit time. I can now write current I is equal to N E A V D, or I'll take it as N E A L. You can even write it as L divided by T. Why I'm writing it, I'll explain it clearly. N is the total number of electrons which are present within the conductor. So this is N, valid. E is charge of each electron. So that means charge which is flowing through per unit cross-sectional area, it is NE. Area of cross-section, you need to represent it with A. So total area of cross-section through which this charge is flowing through, that is A. L is total length of the conductor through which electron charge is flowing, right? Therefore, I'll simply write it as I is equal to N into E into A into, what is L by T? L is total length divided by time taken. Length by time is velocity. Velocity gained by an electron here is drift velocity, that is Vd. Okay. So therefore, you can write one more equation for drift velocity, that is Vd is equal to I by NEA. This is one more equation for drift velocity, right? These derivations are very, very important. From here itself, we will define Ohm's law. Observe carefully. We have got one equation, Vd is equal to QE tau by M, and Vd is equal to I divided by NEA, and I'll just equate these two. 1 is equal to 2 because both we are substituting for drift velocity. So when I write it there, you can write as I by NEA is equal to Q can be written as NE into capital E tau divided by M. What is I by A? I by A can be written as drift velocity J. I by A, I am writing it as J by NE. NE, I am bringing it to the other side. N square E square capital E tau divided by M. So from here you can write capital J is equal to, check it up, N square E square capital E, or I'll let me take this E later. So that is N square E square tau divided by M into capital E, right? This is one more expression we have got. Understand this clearly. J is current density. Current density I by A, that is a fixed value which is equal to N. N is number density of the conductor, that is fixed value, constant. E is charge of the electron, it is constant. For a given conductor, relaxation time is also constant. M is mass of the electron, this is constant. So I can simply take this constant as sigma, which is equal to N square E square tau divided by M, right? I can take it as N square E square tau divided by M, which is sigma. This is known as conductivity. It is known as conductivity of conductor. This is conductivity of a conductor, and I can take reciprocal of this as rho, which is 1 by sigma. This is M divided by N E square into tau. Of course, N square approximately I am writing it as N here because whenever you are dealing with drift velocity, like here we are considering it only one charge. So you can even take this as E, only E, and therefore here you will be getting only E, and that N comes over here. So I can remove this N. I can remove this N. I can remove this N, one more N, which is carried from here. I am removing that because Q, instead of Q, I am writing it only E is charged particle. So rho can be written as m divided by n e square tau. This is termed as resistivity. This is termed as resistivity. Sigma is conductivity, rho is resistivity. And simply the final expression for this is given by J is equal to sigma E. J is equal to sigma E is the final expression which we have got. What is J? J is representing current density. What is E? E is representing electric field, right? So this is Ohm's law. This is the actual form of Ohm's law. From here we can define V is equal to IR. That we will do it later. This is the actual definition for Ohm's law. Ohm's law is actually formed by this expression. J is equal to sigma E, which is different from the thing which you have learned in your class 10th. Usually in class 10th you will be writing V is equal to IR. This is Ohm's law. So V is equal to IR is one of the form of J is equal to sigma E. So whenever you are dealing with actual Ohm's law, it should be written J is equal to sigma E. That is the base of Ohm's law. And from that we will be getting V is equal to IR. I'll show you how you are getting V is equal to IR in the next slide. But you just remember J is equal to sigma is the valid expression for Ohm's law, where J is current density and sigma is electrical conductivity, E is electric field. Students, we have derived these equations. Now let me write down J is equal to I by A in this expression and E is equal to V by L. So how do you write that? J is I by A, which is equal to sigma, it is n E square tau divided by M, and what is E? E is V divided by L, right? So I am substituting J and E over here. So from this I can now write I is equal to n E square tau A divided by M into L into V. Okay. So A is area of cross section, L is length. Area of cross section can be written as L square. So I can cancel this L and L over here, or else you need not do those all things. What I'll do, N is constant, however, E is charge of the electron, which is constant. Tau is relaxation time, that is also constant. A is area of cross section for the conductor, it is constant. M is mass of the electron, that is also constant. L is length of the conductor, that is also constant. These total parameters, whatever we have here, they are constants. So simply I can write I is proportional to V. I is proportional to V. Simply I can write it here. Okay. So as I is equal to V, if I remove this proportionality, I can include a constant. That constant I'll represent it with I into R, where R is resistance of the conductor. Where R is resistance of the conductor. So that resistance can be written as R is equal to N E square tau A divided by L into M. Okay, this is equation for R. R is the resistance which we have obtained. Okay, so I know like sigma is equal to N E square tau by M. N E square tau by M, I'll write it as 1 by rho into A, whatever is left, N E square tau by M by L. Is it not? So how do you write for rho? Rho is equal to R L divided by A. This is one more expression which is very important, where rho is called resistivity of conductor. Remember, resistivity of a conductor is constant but not resistance. Resistance is not constant for a conductor. It varies with respect to length and as well as nature of the material and as well as temperature. It changes with. So I'll discuss that in the next video. R is resistivity of the conductor. So simply you can now write resistance R is equal to rho wait. Students, small mistake here. We have got R is equal to A divided by rho L. Rho comes over here so that you can write A divided by RL. Right? So R is simply written as rho L divided by A. This is one more expression for resistance of the conductor. From this you can write rho is constant, however we have defined it. R is directly proportional to length L and R is inversely proportional to area of cross section. Right? Remember, resistance of conductor changes with length and area of cross section. It changes with length and area of cross section, and it also depends upon temperature. Temperature dependence of resistance and resistivity we will discuss in next video. Now from this you can simply write R1 by R2 is equal to L1 by L2. This is carried from this expression. Similarly, R1 by R2 is equal to A2 by A1. This is carried from this expression. So this is the dependence of resistance with respect to length and as well as area of cross section. Resistance of the given conductor increases with length and decreases with area of cross section. These are the two factors upon which resistance depends on. And remember, resistivity for a given material is constant. R changes with L, A, V, area and as well as volume, but rho does not change. Okay, rho changes only with nature of material and temperature. Of course, R changes with temperature also. Resistance changes with temperature of the substance, length of the conductor, area of cross section and as well as volume of the conductor also. But whereas resistivity does not change with these all factors. Resistivity only depends on nature of the material and as well as temperature. Only on these two factors it depends on resistivity. Of course, if resistivity is changed, then conductivity also changes, because resistivity and conductivity both are reciprocal with each other. See, we have got equations for J is equal to sigma E. I don't take much time. It will be very simple. J is equal to I by A. E is equal to V divided by L. Sigma is equal to N E square tau divided by M. I'll substitute all these values over there. I can write it as I by A is equal to N E square tau divided by M into V by L. So this is I is equal to N E square tau A divided by M L into V, or you can write it as V is equal to M L divided by N E square tau A into I, right? From this, I can simply write V is equal to, or V I can write it as simply proportional to I considering m L by n E square tau A is equal to constant. Okay. So if this is been constant, I can simply write V is proportional to I, and this constant I am representing it with R, where R is the resistance. So simply you can write V is equal to IR now, where R is equal to m L divided by n E square tau A. And what is m by n E square tau? That is rho into L divided by A. This gives you R is equal to rho L by A. Right? It is rho L by A. R is equal to rho L by A. That is very simple equation which we got it finally. And that is the relation between resistance and resistivity. From there you can write R1 by R2 is equal to L1 by L2. R1 by R2 is equal to A2 by A1. And resistance is directly proportional to length, and resistance is inversely proportional to area of cross section. R depends on L comma A comma T and volume, but rho is equal to m divided by n E square tau. This is independent of L and A. Remember that rho only depends on temperature and nature of substance. It only depends on temperature and nature of substance.